And the war is now in its 5th year. And as I reminded Jim, I'm a Melbourne girl. I'm Essendon born and bred. I don't barrack for the Bombers. I barrack for Collingwood. But I could hear Windy Hill sirens every Saturday from home. And we always knew if there was a big crowd because we could see how far the cars were parked down from Windy Hill and throughout the suburb. But I'm going to read what I've written tonight and share that with you, because I have to admit what's happening in Ukraine is taking a personal toll on all Ukrainians. It's not just taking a toll on people like Anastasia, who has fled here as a displaced person with her 3 young boys, and the other thousands, there aren't many, that have come to Australia. It's taken a toll on everybody in the diaspora. 20 million Ukrainians, I'll repeat that, 20 million Ukrainians have fled Ukraine since the full-scale invasion. Prior to the full-scale invasion, there would have been around 40,000 Ukrainians, or people that identify themselves as Ukrainian descent, here in Australia. Now that's increased, not significantly, we're about 50,000, 55,000 now. So we're still a small diaspora compared to others. I'm thankful to my parents who made me speak Ukrainian at home from birth, for which I am totally bilingual and have been able to do that translation for you, Jim, which I've done with absolute pleasure. And when I speak with my family and friends in Ukraine, I can converse with them easily in Ukrainian. I'm going to start by congratulating the Rotary Club of Mount Eliza on your recent prestigious awards. Just recently, as you mentioned, Jim, you did receive the Gold Award for the club membership growth for the most members inducted, and also the Bronze Award for the Governor's Excellent Award. That reflects your incredible work, and not just your work, but making people feel welcome. Every time I come here, I see your smiles on your faces, and I feel most welcome to join you and to come back. So congratulations to every member, volunteer and supporter who's helped build such a vibrant and impactful club and culture. I'm going to share some words that a dear friend of mine wrote on social media not long ago, just a few hours ago. As Jim told you, Ukraine was hit by a huge attack of ballistic missiles and drones during our day overnight. 73 ballistic missiles and 656 drones, Shahed drones, were hit on Ukraine. Now this is happening almost every day, but every 3 or 4 days the impact is a lot more severe, and last night was one of those. Does anybody here know how big a Shahed drone is? James, how big is it? If I put my arms out like this, bigger than a table. Bigger than me putting my arms out. So even as I put my arms out, a Shahed drone is it looks like a stingray, and it's bigger than me with my arms out. So imagine 656 of those flying across the skies, and they're directional. They direct them where they want to fly and where to hit and who to hit and what people to take down. Followed by the 73 ballistic missiles. Now, with the Shahed drones, when they fly, you have warning, and depending upon when they're launched from Russia, depending upon where you are in Ukraine, you may have, Настя, how long would you have? Скільки час, поки ти почуєш і знаєш, поки вони прийдуть? Як того? It can be 1 minute, it can be 20 minutes, depending upon how you are. So you can take cover, or you may not be able to take cover. But the ballistic missiles are instant, right? So when they're launched, it's just literally, they're there. So they launch the Shahed drones, and then they follow them up with the ballistic missiles. So many people then just spend nights undercover, or they choose not to, and they just say, if tonight's my night to meet my maker, so be it. So I'm going to share what a friend of mine, Mikhailo Vinnytsky. Mikhailo's like me. He was born outside of Ukraine, brought up by Ukrainian parents who also fled Ukraine after World War II, or during World War II, and then they would have settled in Canada in 49, like my parents settled here in 49. And Mikhailo married a Ukrainian and is a very respected lecturer at one of the main universities in Kyiv, the Kyivsko-Mohylanska Academia. And his four children, have all been born in Kyiv, so they are Ukrainian. And this is what Mikhailo wrote. It is now just shy of 3 a.m. in Kyiv. Like many of our neighbours, we're spending the night on the subway platform of our local metro station. Several explosions have shaken the ground around us, and according to monitors, more missiles are on their way, including cruise, ballistic and hypersonic. But the subway is safe and full of people tonight. Now, Mikhailo went on to reflect on why his family has stayed in Kyiv through 4.5 years of full-scale war, because Kyiv is his home, it's his children's home, and he didn't want to become a refugee. He didn't want to put his children through being refugees, just as his family were back in the late 40s and 50s. His words ended with this. History teaches us all empires collapse, all wars end in peace, all nights end in mornings, sunrises are beautiful, always. And as long as the armed forces of Ukraine stand, Ukrainians stand. Now, I share this because this reminds us that the war in Ukraine is not abstract, it's real, it's happening to people every single day. In real cities, in the middle of the night, families are sheltered underground while missiles fly overhead. So today is the 2nd of June. It marks day 1,560 of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, counting from the 24th of February of 2022, of course. We can go back 13 years when Russia annexed Crimea. So we're now in the 5th year of the full-scale invasion, and Ukraine has endured utter destruction of homes, schools, hospitals, power stations, water systems, and civilian infrastructure. If I can just share with you, when I was in Ukraine back in February, March, early this year, the infrastructure that was targeted at the time was the electrical infrastructure, because of course it was a very severe winter across Europe. So they were taking out energy power stations so that people would literally freeze to death. They couldn't heat their homes. And then you couldn't have hot water, and then there was no water. So Ukraine has already got the heads up that the summer that they're just about to go into, the next infrastructure that's going to be targeted is water. So people are already being told to stock up on having lots of water canisters in their homes, because water infrastructure is going to be hit this summer that they're just going into. So Russia's war is not just about territory, it's about an attempt to invade, colonise, erase identity, abduct and forcibly transfer Ukrainian children into Russia, destroy Ukrainian culture and history, and break the spirit of an entire people. So its aim is not just to occupy the land and take the wealth of what is called the breadbasket of Europe, but its aim is to ruin the Ukrainian spirit, Ukrainian people, and to wipe an entire nation and people of this earth. But yet, Ukrainians still stand. And every day they fight back and stand. As Mikhailo said, all nights end in mornings. And I'm sorry if my tone is a little bit down. I did give you the forewarning that this is where my mental state is at the moment, and it's very hard for me to do what I do in the community organisations that I participate in and am on boards of, because I am becoming a shell of the person that I was a few years ago. My family, my children see it. My husband, who is from Ukraine, says, Christina, step back, do less, because it's affecting you now. So I'd like to sincerely acknowledge all of you that are sitting here for your support and for your fundraising efforts. You funded the water filtration unit for Berdechiv in Ukraine as part of the Ukraine Crisis Appeal of the Australian Federation of Ukrainian Organisations, of which I am a director on the board. Now, that support is practical. That means those kids, when they turn on their tap, they have clean water. Because, of course, even though I mentioned that water infrastructure is going to be targeted, the water in Ukraine is still not clean. So for them to have clean water at schools is very important. So it's essential for survival, for health, dare I say for dignity of every individual to be able to have access to clean water. Humanitarian needs remain immense. So through the Ukraine Crisis Appeal of the AFUO, Australian donations continue to provide urgent humanitarian aid, including food, clean water, blankets, emergency housing, clothing, medical assistance, and other support delivered through partners in Ukraine. And as I was sharing with Jim, there have been many a day that I've been out to Footscray, to Rorke's, and we've packed our containers there. We keep our medical and humanitarian aid in the warehouse there, and then we have our packing days and the container gets packed up, and through the AFUO and Ukraine Crisis Appeal we do a lot with Rotary. Another thing that we have here in Australia, which we take for granted, we have Are You OK Day, and I think I've shared this with you in the past, but I think it's really important that you're aware that in Ukraine, Are You OK is every single day. Every day I need to consider, how do I write to my family and friends? Do I just write to them, did you get through the night? Can I be that blunt? Can I write to them, how are you feeling? Do you know anybody that got hurt? Are you okay? Every single day for Ukrainians. This is why humanitarian aid is not just about our physical survival, it's about our mental health and well-being as well. So again, for myself personally, as a local member of our community here on the Mornington Peninsula, I thank you all for all that you do to help Ukraine from the bottom of my heart. So recently I travelled to Lviv to attend a Australia-New Zealand-Ukraine Cooperation Forum. Another role that I have is the Vice President of the Australia-Ukraine Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also the representative in Australia of the Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So we had a forum it started in Warsaw, part one, and then part two was in Lviv in Ukraine. And it focused on business, government and civil society representatives and different sectors. So we touched on trade, investment, innovation, defence, resilience, medical and rehabilitation support, long-term partnerships, reconstruction and basic humanitarian advocacy. Look, that's a lot of sectors, but it's all needed at the moment. We heard people directly in Ukraine and also the representatives that travelled from Australia and New Zealand. As soon as you drive across the border into Ukraine, you know that you're in a war zone. Everything changes. And your mentality has to flick as well, because you go, oh, I'm in Poland, I'm now in a war zone. You've got to be aware of where you are, what is flying ahead. We have apps that give us warnings of the attacks of the drones and the missiles. Thankfully, while I was there, we only had a few of those. And while I was there was when the Middle East blew up, and dare I say, the focus was on the Middle East. And so Russia was scrambling to see what was happening in Syria and the Middle East. So Ukraine was quiet. So I had a quiet period, very, very, very fortunately. But as you're walking down the streets of Lviv, which is one of the most beautiful cities in Europe because it's all cobblestone, it's like Prague, it's like any beautiful European city. Cafe culture, it's magnificent. You've got to be aware that, hey, I'm walking to a meeting and I might be walking for half an hour, but what happens if the alarms go off? What happens if during the middle of the night, as they did, the alarms go off? And I was staying at friends in their apartment, and you get up and you look out the windows and you peer out and you think, oh my God, Christina, what are you doing? And you look and you see if you can see anything in the sky, and you think, of course I can't see anything in the sky, but the alarms are going and the whole city resonates with alarms. It's not just the app that's going off, but you hear the woo, 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 and it's through the whole sky of the whole city. And then it goes off again when the alarm ends. But it's important to do this work, and it's important to ensure that a country which is the largest territorial country and the geographical centre of Europe is able to have its democracy and have its freedom reinstated. Because what we're seeing is a political bum fight, and it's a political war, basically, that the whole world is playing out, and it's being played out on the territory of Ukraine. Last night I attended the Ukrainian Film Festival of Australia. It's an inaugural film festival that the Australian Federation of Ukrainian Organisations is running right around Australia. And there's been a variety of different films, but I was only able to attend last night because I'd like to share with you. Over the weekend I was in Adelaide because, again, I have another cap that I wear. I'm the CEO of Plus Ukrainian Scouts Australia. So we had a leadership weekend, and we had Ukrainian Scouts from all over Australia in Adelaide mentoring and doing a leadership course, which was a lot of fun. And I wasn't able to attend any of the other films, unfortunately. But last night, and I'm using the word unfortunately, and you'll understand why. We watched at the Lido Cinemas in Hawthorne a movie called 2,000 Metres to Andriivka. 4 days ago, it won an Emmy for the best documentary. I took my 20-year-old son Maxim with me, and after it, he said to me, "Mama, it wasn't a game that we were watching. It wasn't a dystopian Hollywood movie that we were watching. We were watching people kill each other in real time." The movie is about the Ukrainian armed forces attempting to take back Ukrainian territory. 2,000 metres, a stretch of forest leading up to this town that was decimated by the Russian armed forces. And the Ukrainian armed forces climbing through trenches, through potholes with cameras on their helmets. And you're watching them, and all of a sudden there's one person that's alive, and in the next instant he's fallen, and his comrade goes up to him and says, "Tom, are you alive?" Shakes his arm and he's dead. And this is a movie. It's crazy. So as we sit here in this beautiful surrounding, we've got to remember that unfortunately there are so many places on this earth, and unfortunately in Ukraine, this is happening on a daily basis. So it's not just the missiles and the drones that are hitting infrastructure, but there is still a front, and people are still fighting in trenches. There's trench warfare in 2026, and it's wrong. It was shocking. I was upset. I had a friend with me who was a Member of Parliament, Michael Galea, who is part of the Australia-Ukraine Friends of Ukraine group of the Victorian Parliament. And Michael was shocked, and he's been texting me today and saying, "Christina, how are you today? Because I barely slept after seeing what we saw last night." And I said, "Yeah, can't get it out of my head." And other friends that also saw the movie last night also can't get it out of its head. So when we go to the movies and watch these dystopian Hollywood movies, unfortunately, this is the reality in Ukraine. So unfortunately, I'm using that word, so please, I'll ask your forgiveness for using that so often tonight as I share my experiences. It is hard. It's hard to be Ukrainian or of Ukrainian descent in 2026. It's hard for me to support my friends that I love and my family. It's hard for me to go back to Ukraine. I'll be back there in October. It's hard. Life is hard. But Ukrainians don't stop. It was the Ukrainians that built Molotov cocktails to stop the Russians on those first few days. And it's the Ukrainian spirit that will be undefended. Ukrainians cannot be stopped. Nobody should have this being done to what's being done to them. But unfortunately, this is the world that we live in today. Thank you very much for your support. I will continue to always do what is needed to support this Rotary. Thank you, Jim, for letting me in to being a part of, in a small way, part of your family. I'm very grateful, and thank you for listening and for your interest and for your support. With me tonight is Anastasia, who will now stand and come and stand with me, who you've been very generous in your support to help as well. So for those that don't know, and forgive me for those that have heard this before, our husbands went to university together in Kyiv, They were best mates. God knows what they got up to. And when the war started, my husband reached out to Marks and said, Marks, and we named our son after Anastasia's husband, Marks. We said, Marks, if you're getting your wife and kids out, bring them to us. And ever since then, they've been here living in Mornington, going to local schools. The older boys are at Padua, the youngest is only 3. Unfortunately, Marks died of cancer 12 months ago. So we have a beautiful young widow standing beside me, in her 30s, with her family and friends back in Ukraine at war. And she is resilient, and she is strong, and she is amazing. And I look at her and take strength from her. And yeah, sure. Well, now she wants to talk. And I'm very thankful that she's part of my life. And we miss Mux every day. I miss his friendship, and I can only imagine her heartache at not having her husband. So for those that don't know, Mux travelled from Kyiv to Melbourne a few weeks before he passed away. How he did it in last stages of cancer, I still don't know. But he was with us and with his wife and his family when he passed here in Mornington. It's people like these that give me strength and inspire me and make me find the strength to do everything that I do day and night, because I still have Zooms tonight with many people from around the world in Ukraine on other matters. It's people like this that give me strength to do what we do, because they are amazing and they have the right to live in a free, democratic country. So now Nastya would like to speak. Do we need to mic her up as well?
Ні, я можу так, у мене
No.
Ні, мене чутно.
Окей. Отак, бо вони старші і не чує.
Добре. Коли Христя говорила про те, що
Can you try English?
when Krista say about I talk in Ukrainian, and every day, and because when you're morning in Australia, I send message in Ukrainian, attack, no, because we have Telegram, maybe you know, have this program or not, and sometimes I understand, I'm
Scared?
scared and stidno,
Embarrassed.
embarrassed, no remember this
Мікрофон
word.
до бузі.
Embarrassed, ask my friend how are you, because I'm here. I understand how, because I was only 2 weeks when start war, but long time, 4 years every day, listens, feeling what you do in Russia. And when I have power, I ask, how are you? And my friends say me, good, it's okay. And more time I read when I send message, I'm happy, you know here. More time, my friends. All time I'm scared, and this is what you know. But I get feedback, I'm happy now here. It's because no more people have possible sit, fly, and go. More people understand because this is parents, because this is country, because not feeling what we're doing in this country. And every day, more people, not only I or Ukrainian, when come here and another country, feeling
Embarrassed.
And more people live with Russian attack every day. Так і живемо, як це сказати?
This is how we live.
This is how I live. And when I come here, I'm feeling...
Embarrassed.
Yes, my word. I say only my word. What? Why? Because I'm here 3 years and I see these beautiful people 3 times and say, you know English? No, I know English. And I feel, how you can't learn English? But when I come here and looking for us, I'm not feeling this. You very happy. You very open spirit. Oh,
Welcoming, принятие.
welcoming, but душа.
Yeah.
Душа.
Your spirit.
Spirit. You know, sing about spirit. And I want to say thank you. Thank you so much. I know more word English how I can say. For your tolerance, for your waiting. How you looking for me and say, Anastasia, she know, understand. And for благодаря вам.
Як?
Завдяки вам.
With thanks to you,
Thanks to you, more people know down and have power stay. And thank you so much. You interested our country. Thank you.
oh,
Are there any questions? Mark?
Appreciate the feedback. I mean, this is an atrocious attack that has been leveled against Ukraine. And for a long time it appeared like Russia obviously bigger, they're more dominant, but in recent times I'm starting to read that you guys in Ukraine are becoming world's leading experts on drones, and you're starting to take the fight to Russia. How do people feel about that?
So the reason that Ukraine got hit this night was that a couple of days ago, Ukraine sent drones and missiles into Siberia and actually took out a power station. So here is Ukraine. Oh, actually, I'll do it your way. Here is Ukraine. Here is Siberia. Here is Moscow. It flew all the way over to Siberia and took it out. And I think 2 weeks ago, they hit Moscow as well, to the extent that the May Day parade had to be scaled back because they had fears of being hit. So, and yes, in relation to the defence sector, yes, there are experts throughout Ukraine now that are taking everything to do with drone and drone welfare and defence all around the world now. Yeah. And Anastasia's adding that how can this be done so fast, because they let the rockets off the Black Sea, which is part of the ocean that's just below Ukraine.
Judy. Judy, then Alan.
Yeah.
You want to use the microphone, Judy?
What I wonder is how the Ukrainians feel about the rest of the world. Do you feel really supported, except for, of course, Russia and its allies? And do you feel we are all there to support you, or is it really just talk and no do?
Хочеш відповісти? Yeah. Anastasia is going to answer this. She's Ukrainian. She'll give the Ukrainian perspective. Як українці відчувають за підтримку? Як українці відчувають за підтримку, чи воно достатньо з цілого світу? Чи вони відчувають, що є?
Well done.
Thank you, Judy. Look, it changes because, of course, with the current US policy on Ukraine, and which is not to support Ukraine, and the stopping of a lot of financial aid. When I was in Ukraine and attending even hospitals and rehabilitation centres, they then shared with us that programs had to be stopped because the USAID programs had been stopped. So they're very aware when it's turned on and when it's turned off, and the politics of when it's turned off, and who controls the politics of when it's turned off, and when Elon Musk turns off the Starlinks or turns on the Starlinks. Now, I raise the Starlinks because Starlinks is like gold in Ukraine. We often fundraise for Starlinks because every battalion not just battalions, every town, every village needs Starlinks because that is how they have their communication. So it's all through apps. So if the telecommunications go down, Vodafone goes down, or whatever their Kyivstar, their other telecommunications networks, then everything is done through apps and it's all through Starlink. So it depends on what is happening at any given time, and it is all political.
And what about Australia?
Look, Australia has given us a tremendous amount of support, but in comparison to the rest of the world, it doesn't compare. So again, with the AFUO, we lobby the government all the time, both federal and state government, and always ask for more. So the hero story is Bushmasters, just how many Bushmasters were sent over. But there's so much more that is needed. Twiggy Forrest does a lot. He is over, he meets Zelensky. You know, there's government, there's industry support. But now they're looking to Ukraine, as we touched on before, for actually how Ukraine can give back information, particularly to defence to the rest of the world.
Alan?
Judy actually stole my thunder. I was going to ask what support you've got from Western countries. What about Europe? Is Europe supporting you still?
Well, yes, because you've got the whole Europe group that's come together now. So the UK, France, Germany, they're very much supportive. So they've come together as a great unity support towards Ukraine.
One final question, because it is starting in the middle. Bernie?
Could I ask a question to Anastasia? If we go back a few years, I think you, I could be very wrong, but you were trying to study psychology. Yeah. I'm wondering how that's progressing.
And you can answer in English. Jak twój progres i z twojej nauk, i z twojej studiowania i profesji?
Actually, good, because I'm finished how etap in Ukraine. I had masters, because when we had last visit, I only studied a degree, now I have masters. And for Ukrainians, this is good. For Australia, this is okay, not good. But I try here, I should not psychologist. This is very difficult and long time, and when I have more situation, can do this. But how consultation or how volunteers or how work with people, what you need help after
Trauma.
I can do this, but I need little time, maybe 2-3 years. When you, I hope when you see next time after 3 years, I say yes, I'm starting here. Thank you.
One of the things I'd just like to add to all of this, I look at a lot of Rotary District websites around the world, and in America there are a significant number of Rotary districts that are doing fundraising for Ukraine. So while the Trump administration may have pulled the plug, and by the way, Rotary is meant to be apolitical, so I won't become too political, but while that may have happened, the American people certainly have not, in my view, forsaken Ukraine. How lucky are we? Christina, you are such an important part, and Anastasia as well, of the Ukrainian diaspora, but even more importantly, you're an important part of Australia, and you're an important part of our club as well. And I think we will get you at least to be a friend of our club, but that's something we can work on separately. But you are part of our family already, and we certainly look forward to seeing you again. And when you listen to both of these speakers, and you listen to their strength, their courage, their resilience, their preparedness to fight on, is it any wonder that and I don't know what the Ukrainian diaspora is around the world, but the 20 million people who've fled, probably I would imagine another 50 million around worldwide, Ukrainian descent people, and what is it, 60 million people still in Ukraine, 60 plus 70 million people still in Ukraine. Is it any wonder that when Putin decided 4.5 years ago that he would go in for a couple of weeks and take over, that it hasn't worked out the way that he's seen? This is a humanitarian crisis of monumental proportions, and we should never lose sight of that. I'm really proud of the small bit that our club has done, and I'd like to think that Rotary in Australia, Rotary worldwide, would continue to go forward. So please join with me, everybody, in thanking Anastasia and Christina for their presentation tonight. Thank you. I'm going to ask you to stay, Richard. You might remember this from previous visits, and Judy, I'm going to ask you to come up. We always present our speakers with a glass. So you can start collecting these. Anastasia and Christina, if you can come up. There's one for you.
Jim, would you smile into the
I'm not known for smiling.